And we back. I got rich black man, resident Miami fan, and I got myself shot by Buddha. Roll Tide, Road to 18, and we here to break down the 2025 to 26 CFB 12 team playoff. And we don't care about Notre Dame
Nope.
crying. They will join a conference. We don't care
Exactly.
about Texas. We don't care about Vanderbilt and Diego Pavi and him not getting the Heisman Trophy and crying. Y'all just making a better excuse for a reason why y'all wasn't put in there, because y'all ain't no blue blood. You ain't earned your way in. So stop crying. So Rich.
Yep. Or you didn't beat Miami. If you would have beat Miami, then you would have had the head-to-head matchup that would have put you in the playoffs. But most importantly, Notre Dame need to join the conference. You guys every single year come with this crying about why you can't make it and this is hard or that. Join the conference. Run the table on a small little conference and you'll be good to go. But overall, Notre Dame ain't in it because they evaluated the head-to-head with Miami. And we know Miami put BTA in week 1. So sorry, Notre Dame. If you should be mad at anybody, be mad at Shot by Buddha in Alabama. That's who you should be mad at.
Be mad at me that the 7th team and the 10th team on your schedule that you played this year you lost to. So kind of technically you already lost in the playoffs because 2 of the teams that's in right before you already put a belt on y'all. And then for Texas and Vanderbilt can't be over Texas because Texas beat Vanderbilt. And then Vanderbilt had a chance against Alabama and lost. So hey man, I'm sorry. Alabama, we didn't cheat to get our way in. Nick Saban got nothing to do with this. Last year when we got left out of the playoffs, when Clemson and SMU had the heartbreaker at the end of the year, we didn't cry and not go play our bowl game and say we not gonna play no more and the seniors ain't gonna play. We went. We played our game. We went to the draft, had a bunch of first round picks like we always do, and we on to brighter pastures. We licked our wounds and came back next year ready to fight, and that's what Notre Dame and Vanderbilt and Texas need to do. Unless y'all don't think y'all can do it again,
right? Which I don't think they can, unless Notre Dame joins the conference. But anyway, we got the college football playoffs coming up this weekend. The first round matchups is coming up. The bracket is set, and we here to give our predictions on who gonna actually win it all. Okay. This man is an Alabama fan. Obviously, I'm a Miami fan, so we on different sides of the bracket. So it is very likely that both of our teams can meet in the championship game. We could definitely deny Alabama number 19, okay? And the Miami Hurricanes can finally get another championship under their belt after it was stolen from them in 2009 against Ohio State. So I can't wait to get to the second round to play them bums so we can get our nice little revenge.
Yeah,
so, but let's talk about it.
There's another chance that it could be like 1992. Y'all could get there and we could go down and put belt on y'all again, one time for history's sake.
Nah, I don't see that happening. I don't see that. But let's talk about the first round matchups, man. We can start with lower seeds. There's a lot of conversation saying that these lower seeds shouldn't even be considered for the CFP playoff, but they made it. Be mad at them. Maybe we see some changes next year, and maybe the committee will actually choose the 12 best teams in the nation, because in my personal opinion, I don't believe that JMU or Tulane is actually one of the 12 best teams in the country. Now, if they go out in year number 2 and they prove us wrong and move up in the CFP rankings, then yeah, they're going to earn their spot. But as of this year, I think maybe the committee got it wrong, but they made it, so I don't take nothing from them. So we can start with this first matchup, starting with the lowest seed, which is actually James Madison University. Do you know anything about James Madison University other than when you play NCAA against Gaming with Meeks? Because I don't know too much about him. I mean, I heard about him in years past, but neither did I envision a world that we will be talking about JMU in the college football playoffs, let alone against number 5 Oregon. But let's start with JMU. What are your thoughts on them? Let's talk about that matchup.
Honestly, I'm gonna say for the players and the coaches and the fans to get to be on this Cinderella story for Tulane and James Madison to even make it into the bracket based upon the structure that they have. And I agree with you. I do think they'll they'll make some changes because they honestly don't want to see. I think it's gonna be I think this is gonna be a bloodbath. I mean, they're gonna have to go to Oregon and play Oregon on the road in the biggest game in their franchise program history. And Oregon is a team that is going to be loaded with talent. They're going to spend a lot of money in NIL every year, and Dan Lannon is going to be foaming at the mouth to get to be the Goliath in this story of David and Goliath and just crush them so badly that next year that it might be Notre Dame or Texas or Vanderbilt in that spot instead of James Madison. I think that's what the people who run the committee is hoping and probably putting in Dan Lannon's ear, like, hey, we're gonna dangle a little bit more on that carrot in front of their horse if you can go out and just pummel James Madison into a pulp at that 5-12 matchup, because it's good to see this. We seen it with Boise State years ago when they knocked off Oklahoma running that trick play, but I don't think this is gonna be a similar situation. I think they're just gonna be outmatched at a certain point.
Right. And just to go back on JMU, looking at their schedule, did they play any ranked team to even get in this position? I mean, obviously we know they won a conference or whatever, but what ranked team did they actually beat throughout the season? Do we know?
I mean, I don't think it would matter. I mean, at the end of the day, if you put James Madison in the Big Ten or the SEC, they'd be the doormat for the next 25 years before they was able to make something shake. And that's why for the kids in the program, I'm happy for them. But when it boils down to this matchup and what we're gonna see, I think this is gonna be the reason that they change. This year will be the reason that they change the format.
Right. And to be honest, looking at their schedule, if you look at it, the only real name that they actually faced was Louisville, and they actually lost against Louisville. Everybody else they actually beat, but you don't recognize some of those names. I mean, Marshall, Texas State, Old Dominion, Georgia State, Appalachian State. I mean, come on. But yeah, against Oregon, I don't see them having a chance. Just like you said, it's a nice Cinderella story. I don't think they even on a level as what Boise State was, and you got to give Boise State credit. They came back in year number 2 and kind of did it again in year number 3. So they was pretty consistent with a high ranking for a while. Now, do I see James Madison coming back and being in the top 12? Probably not, but probably not. Right.
No,
so Cinderella story.
When schools like this make situations like this happen, they coach get hired. They go to a big school. That's usually what happens.
Hey, Alabama lose first round. They may have an opening.
Man, listen, we're not here to talk about Bama yet. We can wait. Be patient. You can get to hear enough about Bama in a minute.
All right. So your prediction, you're going with Oregon over JMU. I would stick with that same prediction as well, with Oregon over JMU. It's just a matter of how many points they're gonna beat them by.
Like I'm giving a point total like 47-13.
Wow. I agree. It's going to be a bloodbath. I mean, they are definitely going to be the reason why they change the college football playoff next year, because teams like this will not be able to get in unless they totally are in the top 12 in the country. But it's obvious JMU is not. It's a good story, a good headline, good ESPN commercial, but that's about it.
We got Tulane going to Oxford. It's going to be one heck of a party. Tulane going to Ole Miss. If anybody never been to Ole Miss is a fun place to hang out. But they've already played, and it was a flood. Like no pun intended. Tulane, Green Wave, flood, Ole Miss. Like I think we're gonna see part 2.
But there's a change though. Ole Miss do not have Lane Kiffin. Is coaching going to matter against Tulane?
Not in this game. I think it's gonna be a thing where like they just happy to get to Disney World and just happy to be there, because one thing about when you've played somebody that's put belt on you before and you've outmatched, this is not like Georgia playing Bama again after already kind of getting the understanding and having equal talent. This is, we know what they can do to us, and we don't have the arsenal to fight back. So I don't think in this first game. If Ole Miss first game was against one of the other blue blood schools, I think it would matter. But when it comes to Tulane, I think they're gonna put belt on them.
Right. And I'm looking at that score. It was actually 45-10. So I imagine you probably gonna go with the same score prediction, 45-10.
I think it's gonna be a little bit less. You might see something like 38-3. It might be like I can imagine Ole Miss getting up and just running the ball and trying to clock it out the second half, trying not to get anybody hurt.
Wow. Okay. So in our first two predictions, JMU goes down and also Tulane goes down. And coming up next, we got the big Miami Hurricanes, the U and Carson Beck traveling to Texas A&M.
The 12
And
man.
off rip, I'm going to tell you that Miami's going to win this game. I know a lot of people not rooting for Miami, and a lot of people can't see Miami winning, but I'm telling you right now, Miami is going to win. Now, only thing that I am kind of afraid of is that Texas A&M do have the number one stadium in the country, the loudest stadium, the best home field advantage, and yada yada yada. But I'm telling you, it ain't gonna matter when it comes to Miami. We got way too much speed. We got Ruben Bain. We got the little rookie on the wide receiver as well. Tony, he doing this thing. Texas A&M is gonna see some speed that they ain't never seen before in their life. So I got Miami winning against Texas A&M. And again, we belong in the championship. I mean the CFP because we had a good record. We beat Notre Dame in week 1, right? I know we had a few hiccups during the season, but at the end of the day, this last spot, this 10th spot was down to Notre Dame and Miami. And I'm glad the committee actually got it right and included us in because we deserved it, even though we didn't play in the ACC championship game. And that's probably going to be changed next year as well to where maybe Miami will have a guaranteed spot in the ACC championship game to win, to get their first ACC championship since they moved from the Big East years ago. But looking from the outside, what are your thoughts as a Miami
Mm-mm-mm.
Hurricane outsider? If we got
Um,
a chance.
I don't think so much about Miami, because we kind of know what Miami is, right?
Mm,
Miami's a team that they're streaky. They can get hot. They can score points, and they also a team that they could get they could stumble and be their biggest enemy themselves. I think it's more to do with this is a huge game for Texas A&M. Their
mm-hmm.
last big game against Texas, Mike Elko, got scared. He coached scared. 4th and 1 in Texas. He punched the ball with a great quarterback, one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in college football, and let Texas choke them out with a 99% chance to make it in the playoffs. And the only way that they didn't go to the SEC championship, which would have put Bama in anyways, because Bama would not have went to had to play it in Atlanta anyways. If they would have went for it, I think they pick it up. If Mike Elko doesn't have some balls this game and take some chances and trust his team, that's the way I see Miami winning the game. Is if Mike Elko coach is scared because he's got the talent to beat
Right.
Miami, but it's going to come down, is the moment going to be too big for him again? Did he learn his lesson? Because I feel like Mario Cristobal has got a lot of experience in big games, and I feel like I give the coaching edge to him if it came down to decision making. Carson Beck has been there
Maybe.
before, so that's kind of why I give Miami the edge and experience a little bit in these big games. But far as talent, I think like Texas A&M got, I mean, Concepcion, Le'Veon, they got a lot of talent, and they got a big physical offensive and defensive line that could cause problems for Miami. So I
Right.
think it's just gonna be one of them games that like who doesn't who doesn't come out scared and makes the adjustments at halftime. To I think it's a fourth quarter game though. Like this is
Right.
one of the matchups I really want to see.
Right. And it's interesting that you actually bring up the coaching because if Miami went down, I think it would probably be on Mario Cristobal. And like you mentioned with the Texas coach as well. And you mentioned Mario got a lot of experience big games. But I do have to ask you, how many of those big games has Mario actually won? Not that many. There's a reason why he's not at Oregon no more. And there's a reason why Miami ain't got an ACC championship. And there's a reason why Miami lost the two games that they did, especially the game against SMU. It was because of coaching. Mario got out coached. So hope it's not another Mario moment where the man actually gets out coached because there's been times where he done just had bad time management, bad play calling. Like Mario, he's been in some big games, but he was in Oregon. You know why Oregon never really won a championship? It was because of
Mm-mm-mm.
Mario. So
Yeah, I mean
it all depends on
it's
which
two
coach not
coaches.
going to cost their team.
It's two coaches that got everything in their arsenal to win it all. But like,
Mm,
who's gonna lay the egg? In my opinion, because what I seen in Carson Beck, like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, like which one of him is gonna
right,
show up? Is he gonna throw the interception on the goal line versus SMU? Is it gonna be the Texas A&M that punts on 4th and inches? Like which team is gonna show up and take control of the game? Is this a huge opportunity for both programs in a state that
right.
have a lot of competition? I mean, Florida State, you got Florida down. Like this is a chance for Miami to really dominate the state of Florida, while the other two programs
Right.
are down, and for Texas A&M, for them to lose to Texas but make the playoffs and make a run would kind of be like a slap back in Texas' face. And then having Texas Tech on the other side of the bracket, like this is a chance for them to dominate their state.
I agree. So what's your prediction? Who you got? You know who I got.
Oh,
What's your
my,
prediction?
my my prediction is 38-35 Texas A&M. I got the Aggies at home, the 12th man being the difference in the game. Carson Beck making the turnover late, and a field goal game, and Texas A&M whole serve at home field advantage.
All right, fair enough. We're gonna see if that's actually going to come true. But coming up is the next biggest matchup in the college football playoffs, which is Alabama versus Oklahoma. Alabama, they ain't supposed to be in it. They are a 3-loss team in the college football playoffs. I'm gonna go ahead and say Notre Dame should have got in over Alabama, but what do I know? I'm just a Miami Hurricane fan.
Oh my
But
goodness.
for the first time, the CFP actually has a 3-loss team in this college football playoffs. So there's a reason why there's a lot of other teams that's upset because they only got 2 losses and they let this 3-win team that probably paid their way and cut a check to get into the college football
Look at this
playoffs. But
nonsense. What? Like
that's the
why?
truth.
Why do we have to listen to this nonsense? If we talking about strength of schedule, we talking about quality wins. Two of the teams that Bama lost to, which is Oklahoma and Georgia, are both in the CFP. We beat Georgia. We split with them. I think that had a lot to do with the difference between one of the teams that really had a gripe was BYU. Their 2 losses was to Texas Tech, and Alabama's last loss in the conference championship was to Georgia, a team they already beat on the road, going back into their state to play them. Now, we all know the real reason why Bama is in, because if you take Bama out, then conference championship games will go away, and teams will start canceling non-conference games outside of their conference. That's what will really happen, and that's the message that they didn't want to send. That a team from the SEC or the Big Ten went to the conference championship and get left out, because then you have teams that would be like tanking on purpose to not go to the conference championship. So if you look at Vanderbilt, they played Bama. How could they have a gripe to be over Texas, a team to beat them, and over Bama, a team to beat them? If we're talking about the rankings, then for Notre Dame, join the SEC and play Bama's schedule. And on top of the 2 teams that are in the CFP that beat you, when you have to go to Wisconsin, in Missouri, in Georgia, LSU, Tennessee, South Carolina, when you go play all those games back to 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 back for 2 months, playing ranked opponents in big time schools in prime time, what would Notre Dame be? And we know that's why they haven't joined the ACC. They joined the ACC in basketball, but not football. And they have their own choice to be in the ACC championship or the Big Ten. I don't think there's a conference that would tell Notre Dame, no, you can't join us in football. So coming into a conference, play a conference championship against a top four team on the road, and then we'll see what happens. Like at the end of the day, like I don't think any of the teams left out could play Bama's schedule and have a better record than we did.
I guess, but anyway, you guys got a rematch against Oklahoma, who you actually lost to during the regular season, 23-21. So hopefully, you guys maybe get your little revenge, maybe or not. Maybe Oklahoma take care of you guys again, and you guys be out of the college football playoffs. But I'm gonna let you talk because you're the fan of Alabama, so you get to talk all about your team, and you let me know why they gonna play differently against Oklahoma. Because you mentioned a lot of these other teams, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Tennessee, South Carolina, and I'm looking at the results, and those results were very, very close. Those games could have went either way. So you're not like Alabama of the past, to where y'all just had a truly dominant schedule and dominant results, where y'all just BTA'd every single team at least by 20 points or more. I'm seeing a lot of tight games in here. I'm seeing L's. I mean, obviously, if you guys can play Louisiana Monroe every week, you guys will be world beaters. But that wasn't really the case. You guys lost against Florida State, who Miami actually thrashed. But we ain't gonna talk about that first L against Florida State. But tell me what Alabama chances are against Oklahoma this time around.
It, Oklahoma is a team I respect. They beat us the last 2 years. They're a team that can rush for, they can stop the run, and they can get after the QB. They don't have much offense. Mateer is a very pedestrian numbers, but Alabama was in a game against Oklahoma this past time where they outgained them in yards, and you look and say, how did they lose on the scoreboard? And Bama's turnovers and inability to run the football is what hurt them against Oklahoma, because similar to the Georgia game, when you can't run the football, because Bama's running backs have pretty much been in and out of the lineup all year, Jam Miller, Deere, Riley, and Hill, those guys have been circulating in and out with injury all year. Bama has to be able to run the football and sustain a solid running game if they play two deep safeties. Against Georgia, it was a similar situation. And you don't want to put Ty Simpson in a position where he's going to be dropping back 40, 50 times, and these teams are going to be running stunts and just sending the dogs at him. Because when you take away Bernard and Williams on the outside, when Alabama can't run it, it's become a one-dimensional team. And then, Cuevas being out, your tight end, you're relying on your third and fourth receivers to get in there and win their ones against pressure, and that, you can roll coverage. That's what Oklahoma did to us, intercepting Ty Simpson and then getting a strip sack fumble and winning by 2. Bama still had a chance to go down and win that game at the end, but, the blitz got to Ty Simpson. He had to throw hot, and Ryan Williams wasn't able to come up with the catch to convert to go down to get 3 to end that game. So at the end of the day, Alabama in this playoffs, it doesn't matter if it's Oklahoma, if it's Indiana, if it's Texas Tech, if it's Oregon, on that side of the bracket, they gotta be able to run the football. You don't want to just fall into a drop back situation where Ty Simpson's gonna have to play hero ball for him to win. I think to beat Oklahoma on the road, Bama's gonna have to run the football. And our kryptonite's always been mobile quarterback, so you got to keep Mateer in the pocket, make him throw from the pocket and beat us, and we got to run the football. That's going to be the key to Alabama getting to their 19th championship, is running the football. I know you got Ty Simpson now, you got Bernard, and you got Ryan Williams, and you think about the high flying offense, but at the end of the day, Bama has to run the football. And I don't mean speed sweeps and end arounds and stuff. I mean lining up. They know we running it. We know we running it. Hand the ball off. Can we get 5 yards?
Right. I mean, I hear you when you say run the ball, but also in the back of my mind, I just remember the last time I saw Alabama play, which was against Georgia, and that run game was non-existent. So if Oklahoma is as good as Georgia, I don't think that run game is really going to be there again for another consecutive game for Alabama. So hopefully, I mean, I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. And Oklahoma has had you guys number the last 2 years, and I'm not sure that's actually going to change. So my prediction for the Alabama Oklahoma game would probably be, and my whole family, all my aunts is Alabama fans. They roll tide every single week in the family chat. But I would love for nothing more than Oklahoma to win this game so I can roll tide with them in the family chat again. But I got Oklahoma probably winning 30 to 20. 30 to 20. Another close game.
30 to 20.
The quarterback is going to make a mistake in the fourth quarter, and the game is just going to be over. So I got Oklahoma defeating Alabama Clemson Tide, denying them championship number 19. in the first round of the CFP.
Man, let me tell you
That's my
something.
prediction.
Let me tell you something about this prediction. Nick Saban is gonna go down there and talk to DeBoer. They're gonna get it together. Ryan Grubb, they're gonna come with a bit of game plan. Jan Miller, Cuevas, all these guys gonna be back healthy. I think they're gonna find a way to move the ball on the perimeter to open up that run game. I think Bama wins this game 34-17, pulls away late. Not a blowout, a close game that Bama pulls away late. I feel like they forced Mateer into some mistakes in this game. Him beating us 2 times. Maybe he comes in a little confident in that Bama defense, who's been opportunistic all year, turns them over a couple times. Bama may get a special team score and maybe get a little bit more production out of that running game and the screen game than they get against Georgia. Because the thing about the difference between them and Brett Venables is a very good coach, but Kirby Smart, to beat him twice in 1 year is going to be tough. There's going to be 3 straight times for Oklahoma, and the numbers just ain't against them. The numbers ain't on their side to beat Bama 3 consecutive times, especially when it count.
I don't know. I mean, you mentioned Nick Saban's going to be at the game probably, but I tell you what, Julio Jones ain't walking out of that locker room. Jay out of that locker room. Henry ain't walking out of that locker room. Alabama goes down this week in the first week of the college football playoffs. You heard it here first. Unfortunately, I mean, they shouldn't even be in it. But that's a whole nother story.
Oh my goodness, man. We not going back to this.
All
Bama
right.
deserved to be in, man. We did what we had to do.
All right, so that's the first round matchups. We both predicted them. Pretty similar matchups. So we got Oregon, we got Ole Miss going. He had Texas. I got Miami, obviously, and obviously he got Alabama and Oklahoma. But we'll just try to be as even as we can. So second round, you're gonna have Oregon and Texas Tech matching up. What do you got in that matchup?
Texas Tech has had a really good defense all year, but I just don't think they've been challenged. I think when they get into the second round, similar to last year, the team sitting back waiting may be a little rusty, especially teams that I don't think is very dynamic on. I don't think Texas Tech is very dynamic on offense. I think Oregon comes in and beats Texas Tech and upsets them in that 4-5 matchup.
I agree. I mean, I haven't really watched too much of Oregon this particular year, but it's Oregon. Oregon is good every year. And plus, I want to continue to see what fire uniforms they come out every single game. So I would probably go with Oregon as well. Don't really know too much about Texas A&M, but I know a lot about Oregon. So I would actually roll with Oregon over Texas A&M in that particular matchup. So we both had Ole Miss defeating Tulane. So Ole Miss goes to Georgia and Ole Miss again without no Lane Kiffin. I think I might have to roll with Georgia over Ole Miss in that particular matchup. Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think Gunnar Stockton, one thing that people underestimated about him is Carson Beck got hurt and he was in the CFP last year and they really couldn't move the ball. I think with Zachariah Branch and Bell, those 2 tight ends they got dealt and lucky. That run game they got. I think Georgia is just a complete team. And I do think without Lane Kiffin, I don't see a way that Ole Miss coaching staff is going to outcoach Kirby Smart in a scenario like that in the Final 8. I just think Georgia overall, offensively and defensively, just kind of smother Ole Miss in that game. And it's a game where, Ole Miss, good story, great story for Ole Miss, but I don't see a world where they beat Georgia in the playoffs without Lane Kiffin. I just think that's a game where they get outcoached, where Georgia maybe not blows them out. It may be like a 27-13 game, kind of a defensive battle where Georgia just kind of like smothers them the entire game, and everybody on Georgia touches the football.
Right. I mean, I agree with you as well. I mean, the way Georgia handled Alabama, I think they're going to do it 10 times worse to Ole Miss because they don't have Lane Kiffin. They don't have that leadership in their ear on the sideline or whatever. Great story for Ole Miss. They had a great season. I would love to have Lane Kiffin to actually finish out what he started and be able to coach his team through the playoffs. But obviously, he's going to LSU, so that wasn't a possibility. But I think their run actually stopped against Georgia. So obviously, coming up next, and I guess we had to do it 2 times because I actually got the Miami Hurricanes defeating Texas A&M and moving on to Ohio State. And looking at Ohio State's schedule, I ain't watched too much of them. I watched a few games here and there, but they over there beating up on teams like Rutgers. They over there beating up on teams like Washington, Penn State, Keith Thomas. I mean, come on, come on. Those teams ain't nowhere on the level of the Miami Hurricanes, okay?
It
And
come to
they got
bias. It
Ryan
come to
Day.
bias. Let
This ain't bias. This is truth.
this,
This is
this is
truth.
bias.
They played Penn State. I mean,
This is
come on,
bias.
Penn
Ohio
State.
State is the defending champion. They didn't have a hangover effect. They look very crisp and well coached in every game. And we know how much money they spend in NIL. They got NFL talent all over their roster. Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith. Listen. It's gonna be tough for somebody to go take a stab at Ohio State. It's gonna take
I
an
think Miami
all-world
can do it.
performance from Carson Beck to beat Ohio State in that
That's
next
my
round.
quarterback. That's my quarterback. He can do it. He can do it. So I would take Miami over Ohio State
Give me
in
a
a
score.
close game. 44-40 Miami. 44-40
Miami. I
Miami.
think this Ohio State team plays ugly football. Give me Ohio State 31, Miami 16.
Miami 16. All right. So flip it. Texas A&M versus Ohio State.
Same thing. I don't think it matters between them two. I don't see either one of those teams beating Ohio State in the next round. Too much experience, too much talent.
I bet. So Alabama, in your case, defeats Oklahoma, moves on to play Indiana. What you got?
Man, listen. Alabama and Oklahoma, either one of them match up with Indiana. That is your upset of the number 1 seed. 2 teams that's gonna get after the QB. That's going to turn over the quarterback. I think this is the Heisman hangover effect. Fernando Mendoza won the Heisman. He's a little bit controversial. It's never good for a Heisman playing that next game with all the media he's been doing. That's going to be 2 defenses that really are opportunistic, that like to turn people over. I think it'd be a lot of athletic because you seen the Ohio State Indiana game was like a 13-10 game. It'll be the same type of defensive athleticism that'll be after him. I think Indiana is a great story for them to be the number 1 seed and to get their first Heisman, but I don't think it matters if it's Alabama or Oklahoma. I think either one of those other 2 teams comes and their defense may be a little bit too much for them.
Wow, I didn't realize that that they played Ohio State and they actually beat Ohio State, but I'm just gonna roll with what you said because I don't know too much about Indiana. I mean, thankful for the NIL as the reason why they was able to get their roster where it is and maybe have good players to be able to compete and be number 1 because they was pretty high last year as well, right? Indiana.
It was a playoff team. They got Kirk Signetti, another son of Saban. You know that's a trend throughout college football. If you got a son of Saban coaching, you're gonna know how to put a team. Dan Lanning, all these coaches that you see out here in the CFP are sons.
Well, why he didn't give his son a job at Alabama when he left? Then,
sir,
why he didn't do that?
Why he didn't do it?
Why didn't Nick Saban just pass the job to his son?
Everybody knew that Kirby Smart was supposed to be the heir apparent to Nick Saban, but then you got Sarkisian, you got Kiffin, you got Dan Lanning, you got Signetti, you got Heupel, you got all these guys out here. Listen, man, it's okay. Cristobal, y'all might have one. Y'all might have a son of Saban out there coaching, man. Down that coaching tree that get you to where you need to go to.
All right. So your prediction, you got the number 1 going down against either or Alabama or Oklahoma. So we'll stick with that prediction. So moving on to the next part of the bracket, we both got Oregon and Alabama or Oklahoma in the top. Who you got?
Now that's when it gets tough because Oregon has a mobile quarterback. That is the kryptonite of Alabama. Now that I think that would be a tougher game for Alabama than Indiana in their matchups. I know that might sound like a hot take, but you know,
Mm.
I got Bama, man. It's just the it's the aura, you know. It's something in the water that if Alabama got that close to a championship, I don't think Oregon, a team that's never won a championship and since the inception of college football, does not beat the one with the most championships.
That sounds a little bit biased. And
It
you
is
talking about I was
biased.
being
Look,
biased on the other
I
side of the bracket.
it is biased, but that's the numbers though. You know, at the end of the day, you got the one school who's never won a championship versus the one with the most championships. I think the lights might be a little too bright for Oregon, but I do say like that this would be the toughest game for Alabama based on the way they play football. Alabama would have to grind them down. That they wouldn't want to get into a track meet with a mobile quarterback. This could be a game, a 34-31 last second field goal type of game, Bama over Oregon.
All right. So Oregon and Alabama or Oklahoma or Indiana. I'm going to roll with Oregon to defeat any of those teams because I think they still, like you said, they're a pretty tough team to go against. And if they hit you in the shootout, it's going to be pretty much game over. But I don't see Alabama defeating Oregon. Indiana, I don't think they defeat Oregon either. But out of the three, if if I had to pick a team that makes it to Oregon, it would probably be Alabama. But like I said, I think Alabama, their time is up once they meet Oregon, if they get past Indiana and if they get past Oklahoma. I'm just saying.
I
It's gonna be a
respect it.
long
I,
road,
I,
but
I respect it because this
I don't
this
see it.
Alabama team has flaws. This
Yes.
Alabama team has flaws, so I respect it.
Yeah. I don't think they're as strong as they was in past. Like I said, a Nick Sabian led team damn near goes undefeated every single year. But this coach that y'all got now, it's been a consistent two, maybe three loss season every single time. But I got Oregon defeating Alabama probably at the most for sure. So moving on to the other side of the bracket, I think you had Ohio State and you had Georgia. That might be one of the best matchups in the whole bracket if it actually makes it that far. But I don't see why it wouldn't, other than my Miami Hurricanes upsetting Ohio State, which I think they do. But I'm gonna keep my bias out of it and say Ohio State versus Georgia in the semifinal. How you think that game go?
I got Kirby Smart in Georgia. Like
Mm.
I think that will be one of those games that'll be for the ages. I think this will be a game where you remember when Ohio State and Texas played and it was a goal line
Yes.
stand. I think you get something similar to that. Both quarterbacks are gonna be methodical. They're not gonna make mistakes. They're gonna run it. They're gonna play action it. They're gonna throw it. You're gonna have NFL talent in every level going across the board on both sides. I just feel like this might be a year where we may have undervalued Georgia all year, being in so many tough games. I feel like it's so hard for a team like Ohio State or any other team to go back to back. This may
Mhm.
be the year where Georgia outlasts them in a slugfest. I give Georgia a 3-point win over Ohio State.
Correct. And I roll with that same prediction as well. The games that I have seen with Georgia, they've been pretty tough. The game against y'all, they played pretty tough, even though they almost let y'all back in it in the second half in that fourth quarter. But Georgia has been pretty tough for quite a long time, and they coach well. And I think they actually take down Ohio State because Ohio State does have some flaws, even though they don't really get exposed too much throughout the year. But everybody knows Ohio State in big games, they can falter a little bit. They can be flawed, and Georgia is just a, a freaking machine at times, and they just be bulldozing and bullying teams. And I think Ohio State could definitely get bullied in that particular matchup. So I will agree and say that Georgia is going to the championship game. And I'll let you be biased and just say, hey, Georgia versus Alabama in a championship game. Who do you got?
Man, over the last decade, you've seen Alabama and Georgia go back and forth so many times, playing each other multiple times in playoffs. The
Mhm.
Jalen Hurts game, the Tua coming in throwing the touchdown to Devontae Smith,
Mhm.
Georgia with Lad McConkey and Brock Bowers. Like we've seen some slugfest between Bama and Georgia over the years. It's like Bama would be the underdog coming into this game, and Bama would need to play a nearly perfect game to win, and that's exactly what they do. They find a way to get it done against Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs, going in the third time. But I think for that to happen, I think Alabama would have to manufacture a way to run the football. You can't have -3 rushing yards against Georgia in the SEC championship and come back and not figure out a way to move the football. I think with Quavos and J.M. Miller and some of those guys being back that was out, if you get those guys back healthy, I think Ryan Williams has to step up and has the game of his life against Georgia with that.
Right. So another scenario: Georgia versus Oregon. What are your thoughts on that? Who wins that matchup?
Georgia versus Oregon, I think Georgia would be too clinical and too physical. See, Bama would make mistakes against Oregon that would make them more susceptible because they're a more opportunistic team. But Georgia against a team like Oregon, I think Georgia would just be too disciplined and just physically wear down on Oregon. So when I pick Bama, it's not as if I'm not acknowledging their flaws that they have. I'm saying in these certain situations and matchups,
right?
You know, they're opportunistic because Bama defense gives up yards, but they turn people over in big games. So you know that's what I would be looking for because against Georgia, they was not able to make Georgia work. You know, Georgia blocked the kick. Bama couldn't run the ball. You know, he had tip drill interceptions. I think for Bama to beat Georgia, they'd have to play just about a perfect game to get it done.
And if we was putting some respect on the number 1 seed's name, Indiana, and put them in the championship game, is there anybody on the other side of the bracket that you think that they can defeat? Ohio State, Georgia, Miami. I don't think they beat Miami by any means. That's by any means at all. But if we was to respect them and give them their credit, and they made it to the finals between Ohio State and Georgia, who wins that matchup?
I think the other team, Ohio State or Georgia, not because I don't think Indiana's capable, because I've seen them fight, and they got some really good players on both sides of the ball. But I just think the history is not on their side. We're having a Heisman Trophy winner. Heisman Trophy winners generally don't win championships, and you know, in their situation, them winning the Big Ten championship and getting the Heisman is kind of like their championship. This is the extra credit that they not used to. And when you get to the extra credit, it's like playing a game and you thought you won the game and then you sweating and you fought so hard and you like, it's a bigger boss, bigger than the biggest boss I just knocked out. You know, it's like, you know, you knock out Soda Pop, Pimp Pisky, and then Mike Tyson comes out and you get hit one time and you lose. And it's kind of, that's the situation I feel like they're going to be in the playoffs is, you know, we kind of in essence won the championship and got the Heisman and beat Ohio State and got the Big Ten championship. Something ain't happened since like the 40s for them. And then they turn around and be in the CFP #1. And it's like, wait, we haven't been here before. And the lights may be a little too bright for Indiana to run the table.
Right. And let's just say, for the sake of this episode here, that Miami beats Texas A&M. They go up against Ohio State, beat Ohio State. Georgia comes up in the semifinals. They beat Georgia, and the Miami Hurricanes are in the finals. Is there anybody on that other side of the bracket that you personally would give Miami an opportunity to beat and win another championship? Is there anybody? Indiana, Oregon, Oklahoma, Alabama. Do you give Miami any chance against any of those teams?
No, I'm going to tell you why. Miami's got the toughest road. They got Texas A&M. They got Ohio State. Then they would play Georgia. Then they would play like Oregon or Alabama. Like, that's the hardest road. You know, like they didn't do y'all
battle
no favors.
Tested.
Huh?
Battle tested. We will be battle tested.
Like, this is attrition. You know, the old Rambo movie, you win the war by attrition. You know, it's like, this is a situation where like A&M is a dogfight, and then turn around and play Ohio State is a dogfight, and then turn around and play Georgia. Like, the chances of y'all getting in, not just being so battered and bruised, eyes blackened, lips busted, sore, ice bath. That's a gauntlet, and I think that's the hardest path to the championship of any team. I think the Oregon Texas Tech side is probably the easiest side, and the toughest side is the side with Texas A&M, Miami, and Ohio State. I think that's tough. Even though you got Bama, Oklahoma, and Indiana, I still think that y'all road that y'all would have to go to is, the toughest possible way to go to the hardest place to play in college football, and then play the defending champions, and then play Georgia, the SEC champions, and then you would be playing, a team that made it out the other side. I just think Miami is a good enough team to run the table. I just don't know if y'all could do it with that gauntlet.
That sounds like another 30 for 30 coming up on the University of Miami. What if I told you that Miami beat Texas A&M, Ohio State, and the Georgia Bulldogs, and someone else like Alabama or Oklahoma to win another national championship? 30 for 30.
30 for 30? I got one better for you. This right here is Shabba Buddha's hot take, my 1 minute rundown on why the teams that didn't make it in, it wouldn't have mattered. Notre Dame, let's put them in that bracket where Miami is at, right? Oh, my bad. You lost to both of those teams in that bracket. All right, Vanderbilt, could they go to Texas A&M, to Ohio State, to Georgia to get to the championship? The answer is no. Texas, they beat Texas A&M, so I'll give Texas past Texas A&M or Miami in that bracket because they did beat Texas A&M, but then they lost to Ohio State already this year, and then they go play Georgia, a team that popped them last year in the SEC championship. So the three teams that have the biggest complaint about not getting in, if I put y'all in that tough spot that Miami's in, you've already lost to the teams in front of you along that path to get there anyways. I know that's something that nobody said. And then BYU, please, there's no chance that you beat anybody in that side of the bracket. Y'all get beat by 50 and be put out and sent back and have your coach wishing that he would have took the Penn State job. That's what happened. So for the teams that didn't make it in, that's the hot take. There's no chance if I put y'all in Miami spot that y'all would have ran the gauntlet. So get better next year. Get gooder.
So basically, are you saying that Miami is the best positioned team out of the teams that you named to be in that number 10 spot? Like there's no other team that could possibly win against Texas A&M other than Miami.
Yes, I'm saying a quarterback that has the experience that's been in those type of situations. You have a first round offensive tackle in Maui Goa. You got a first round Ian and Ruben Bain. You got guys that can match up. That would give y'all a fighting chance to run that gauntlet. That Carson Beck could get hot and go on that run. I don't see that from Notre Dame because the teams that's in the 10 and 7 spot they lost to. I don't see that from Texas because even though I would give them past Texas A&M because they beat them, how would Texas and Miami match up? They would be a good matchup, but they lost to Ohio State earlier in the year. You could sell that maybe that they're a better team now than they was when they played Ohio State. But you played them, the head-to-head has to matter. And then if you was to take Vanderbilt, I don't think you could send Vanderbilt to Miami, to Texas A&M, to Ohio State, to Georgia, and they could make it through. I just don't think they have enough horses in the stable to get there. Pop one of the teams, maybe, but make the gauntlet, nah. So, that makes the case for Miami and Alabama. I think that those two teams could do it. I think that Notre Dame, Vanderbilt, and Texas don't have the capability. Texas being the one that you probably give the most credence to because they did beat Texas A&M at home in DKR, and they played Ohio State and got beat. Maybe they could get them in a rematch, but then still after that they play Georgia. And we remember what happened when Georgia played Texas this year. They got belt put on them. So, that's how I looked at it. A lot of people have a lot of biases when they get ready to break down the teams and how they feel or who it should have been there. And we're not seriously saying that BYU got built 2 times from Texas Tech, that you're going to put them in Bama spot, Oklahoma spot, or Miami or Texas A&M space and think, even if you put them where Tulane is, there's no chance that BYU gets out of any of those rounds.
Right. I agree. And one last thing before we get up out of here, like I want to say that there's a Cinderella that could actually win some games, but the way that it's set up now with the 11th and the 12th, that's why I don't like how JMU and Tulane is actually in it, because realistically, they are not one of the top 11th or 12th teams in the country at all. Normally, in the regular world, you would probably have a Notre Dame in one of those spots, and you could be like, "Hey, Notre Dame could be Cinderella, and they may be able to win some games." But JMU and Tulane is not a Cinderella. They ain't gonna get past the first round. But is there a Cinderella that you see that on in the bracket that's
No,
not
no,
named
that's not a
Alabama?
Cinderella, and that goes back to double down on my point that if Notre Dame and Vanderbilt and Texas should be mad that they're not in the 12th or 11th seed instead of JMU or Tulane, but talking about barking up the tree of Alabama and Miami, I think that's the wrong direction for them to go, because there's no way that James Madison is going to go beat Oregon at Oregon and then turn around and beat Texas Tech with that defense, and then with Tulane.
Right.
You're gonna go to Oxford and beat Ole Miss and then turn around and play Georgia. There's no chance. Like they get spanked. They get sent. But sometimes it's a word, Rich. This word is called sacrifice. They're the sacrificial lambs that's being sent to slaughter to get the experience of playing in the CFP. But we all know what's about to happen. They're gonna rechange everything. And next year, JMU and Tulane are gonna be ranked 13 and 14. They're gonna be right outside of that top 12. And then next year, they're gonna get Texas and Notre Dame in at that 11 and 12 spot. It's going to be even more money because it's the almighty dollar that runs everything.
Yeah.
So
They should have just gave JMU and Tulane one of the best bowl games on New Year's Day and called it a day. That's what they should have did with those two teams, right?
yes.
Give them whatever the highlight bowl game is, whatever it is, prime time, and put JMU and Tulane in that bowl game.
Yeah, put them
I
on
think they probably would have been
ESPN
just
and
as
give
happy.
them some nice bowl rings and send them to Hawaii or something. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I
Send
do.
them to California, Hawaii or something. Get them a nice area. Put them up in a nice hotel. Get them some nice Nike gear or something, or some Adidas Under Armour or something. And then let us get back to big boy football, man. No disrespect. Shout out to all those players. They fought hard and they deserve the opportunity because this is the system that's set up. But just like everything else in America, just because it's the system that don't make it right. So
Right.
Notre Dame, Texas, Vanderbilt, if y'all want to be upset with me and Rich Black Man, you should be upset with James Madison and Tulane. You come barking up Miami and Alabama's tree. We beat that debate and that argument. If you think different, comment in the chat and we'll respond back to you and tell you to have a blessed day, because there's no way you're gonna win this debate about those crybabies who didn't play their bowl game and go out and prove and beat somebody bad and show why they should have been in there. You know what y'all gonna be like? Y'all gonna be like Florida State that year that they sat all their players and Georgia beat them by 100 and they've been dead ever since.
Right. So outside of Miami and Alabama, pick a champion, because I don't think we picked a champion. Obviously, I think Miami's gonna win. You think Alabama's gonna win, but if that doesn't happen, what's the next team that's actually going to win? I
Give me
probably would go
Georgia.
with Georgia.
Give me Georgia.
Yeah, I would go with Georgia.
Hey, look, me and Rich never agree on things. We saying Georgia in unison. Like Georgia has impressed us enough to say that if I had to pick a team, not Alabama, it would be Georgia, because of Kirby Smart and because that Gunnar Stockton seems to have this thing about him that I was watching when they was like really putting belt on Alabama in the SEC championship. He never celebrated. He didn't look like a person that was like surprised to be there or just happy to be there. He looked like a person that like the job is not done. This wasn't on my bingo card. My bingo card is last year I played bad in the CFP. I want to get back in the CFP and make a run. And that's what scares me about Gunnar Stockton and Kirby Smart is they just look way too calm with the way they've been going about their business.
Oh, I agree 100%. So I'm Riz Black Man, Miami Hurricane fan. That's shot by Buddha, Alabama Crimson Tide fan. And those are our CFP predictions for 2025. And the game's still got to be played. Anything can happen. But I do know and I do believe that Miami's going to take it all. But what else you want to say before we get up out of here?
That's it. I thought we did a pretty good job of giving our opinions and breakdowns on why we thought certain teams would get there in the CFP. and we do think we'll see a different format come next year. But I'm ready. I'm ready for the games to hit. It's the holidays. We're gonna get some college football. We're gonna get some the end of the NFL season, and even though both our teams ain't going to the playoffs, and we're gonna get some Stranger Things. I'm ready for that. So there's gonna be a lot of entertainment to end the year and close out 2025 in the right way.
Absolutely. And make sure you guys drop in the comments what games we got wrong. Let us know what your predictions would be. Let us know who your college football champion is, and we will definitely respond to each and every comment. Man, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Turn on your bell icon on YouTube. Turn it on to all so you know when we drop another video. Make sure you follow my man on Facebook, Kick, and Twitch at Shot by Buddha. I'm on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok and Instagram on Rich Black Man. But definitely hit the comments and let us know what y'all thought about our predictions. And, you know, we're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens.
God first in the chat, man. We out.